Okay, thank you guys. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this Twitter space on incentives, value redistribution, and observability of MEV supply chain. So, I'm your host, Brian, and today we are going to dive deep into the fascinating realm of MEV supply chain, an area that is rapidly evolving. So with advancements in the MEV ecosystem, it has become increasingly critical to align incentives to ensure fair value redistribution and maintain clear observability. So through this discussion, we aim to explore some pivotal questions on MEV supply chain metrics, value redistribution concerns, and potentials of MEV burn and the PEPC. So the goal is to foster conversation, share insights, and unpack the complexities of surrounding these pivotal topics. So it's all designed to help us to navigate the constant changing terrains of DeFi. So I'm honored to have all these great experts from builders to provide their insights onto this topic. And I'd like them to do a brief introduction about themselves. So how about we start from Benjamin?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Benjamin Hunter. I'm one of the developers at Bloxroute. I work mainly on our MEV relays and our MEV block builders. So I'm pretty familiar with the space and the Ethereum side of things. Definitely excited to get going in this conversation.
Okay, thank you, Benjamin. So next one is Blair.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Cool. Blair, been with Block.eth for 3 years now. Feels like 20 years in crypto time. I work on a couple of our MEV related products. One is our Transaction Boost, which is a private transaction aggregator to these OFAs and block builders. And then our most recent product that we sneak peek launched, EtherNow. You can go to ethernow.xyz to check that out. And that is an observability platform for Ethereum.
Okay, thank you, Blair. So next one is Danny, who's has been several times on our Twitter space. Okay, now Danny, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Danny, can you hear us? I guess something's wrong with her, maybe with her mobile phone. So I guess the next one is Julian. So Julian, would you mind? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, how's my mic? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Hi, my name is Julian. I work on Gambit Labs. We primarily work on block building and order filling. So I, for the most part, work on the block builder, and maybe relevant to this discussion, some months back, we introduced an auction stats observability feature, basically allowing users or searchers to get some insight into how their bundles in an anonymous way compare to other searchers going after some opportunity. So we're trying to basically build some functionality around giving people better insights into the block building process.
Okay, thank you, Julian. So yeah, I think Danny just exit and logged in again. So I think it's time for Danny to do a brief introduction about herself.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I seems like wasn't able to hear anything and just rejoined. And I'm Danny. I'm a data scientist at Flashbots, looking at PBS data and analysis on like behavior builder and private mempool order flow stack. Happy to be here. Thanks.
All right. Last but not least, so we have our Sophie, who's a data scientist for Identify. So Sophie, you want to do a brief introduction?
Okay, thanks, Brian. Hi, everyone. This is Sophie. I'm the data scientist from Identify. So we're mainly focusing on identifying the MEV data, and we're also monitoring on the MEV behavior in the market. And I'm also very happy to be here to share our recent findings of how the searchers are utilizing the private order flows. So yeah, thanks.
Nice. Let's embark on this dynamic discussion, shall we? So I think all these major decisions regarding whether to design a fair mining ecosystem is kind of always depends on the data, right? So essentially, data is also pretty important in terms of how to provide a pretty good observability in the MEV supply chain. So my first question is which metrics are crucial for observability in the MEV supply chain? So I would want to start from Benjamin.
Oh man, I was really hoping not to have to go first on this one. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do with observability in the MEV supply chain, right? Like I said, I really don't want to go first on this. I feel like I could do better bouncing off of some other people. Maybe
I'll take over, Benjamin.
I was gonna say maybe Blair can lead there with this.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, when you think about observability, the whole point of the mempool for these blockchains was to provide some sort of censorship resistance, and with that censorship resistance, you need to be able to verify, the transaction journey, the transaction lifecycle, aka you want to be able to observe what happened with your transaction, and so that's what we had originally, and now, at least in Ethereum, with our MEV supply chain, there's centralized choke points everywhere, right? So there's more and more of the high value transactions are going privately to builders directly, or these order flow auctions, and then builders send to relays, and these relays are trusted, and now there's this intent based architecture, and so these architectures are typically centralized servers hosted by some company, and then there's solvers, there's fillers, there's all these new centralized entities, and it's becoming quite a long list. And so I don't know what the exact right metric is here, but to me, it's just like you can't even observe, even the most sophisticated person can't really observe their transaction lifecycle from the moment you click submit to when it lands on chain. You just kind of see it land on chain, but you have no idea who saw your transaction, how many searchers or how many builders saw your transaction, how many relays saw your transaction, all these different centralized actors who are privy to watching a lot of this action, that's not available to others who only get to watch publicly. They all saw your transaction, but you don't really have a good idea of who they are, or what they did with that information. So there's some asymmetric information advantages that can be used against you.
Yeah, it's actually one of the reasons I wasn't wanting to go first with this, is because the current MEV supply chain, there's not a lot of observability, right? You have kind of a retroactive observability. You see the path it took to get to land on chain, but there's all of these actors in the space that are either trying to search them. There's either private order flow, and it somehow lands to one of the top 3 builders and will land on chain, right? Eventually a proposer will propose it, but you don't know all of the different access that the different actors have in the space.
And I have a long list to follow up. Sorry to cut Julian.
No problem.
But yeah, okay. So if I go down the MEV, sorry, you want to go first? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah. So I have a lot of rant about this, and I want to say, if we go down the MEV supply chain, from the left to the right, from user, wallet, application, RPC, entry point, searcher, builder, relay, validator, the later half is more kind of informed today, through the relay data API, and we see it in the mapboost.pix, etc., and from the tornado warning or the other censorship website, we can kind of see the problem about censorship concern. We can see centralization of builder and relay, but then a lot of things, as you guys, cycle of order flow is pretty opaque today still. And one thing could be helpful, and think Block Native's data set empowered this mempool.pix. And also I recently Flashbots collected the mempool dumpster data set, and I built a dashboard on Dune, where is you could clearly see there's a increasing chunk of order flow is going to private mempool. So that kind of data is also interesting to show the movement of order flow going more and more private RPC and mempool. another piece of data is I think Builder could provide a lot more information per the order flow they received today. I think Titan did a good job. They have an endpoint about for searcher to query about the bundle status that sent to them. And so like this can bring a lot of more transparency for the searcher to say, oh, did you see my bundle? Did you see my bundle? Did it land? Why didn't it land? And so to remove some concern about if builders unbundling or censoring or ignoring kind of their order flow and for their own searching flow, etc. And on that point as well, I think it would be nice for builder to do one extra step to bring more transparency with some dashboards showing, like for example, if you are doing some extra searching, as long as you inform the players and like show it like on the dashboards, I think it will be a better way to bring trust and everything. So that will be builder part, and I think RPC also could be helpful if they bring some analysis about like what's the order flow they receive, break it down, and like where they go forward towards to the builder, etc. And back to the user side is I think order flow auction should also bring more data and metrics to show like if you're really bringing in some price improvement for user. Like for example, Map Blocker did a great job like uploading the data set to Dune, and so like they have a lot of dashboards showing like how many refunds they've landed so far, and how many users have been basically benefiting from the refunds from the searchers. And Flashbots is trying to publish that data next year soon as well. But we really will only know like if the transaction went to Map Blocker, if it went to Flashbots Protect, but there's a lot more other OFA there as well, like Blink, Colibria, and I think like if there is a actually like global data set of all the order flow auction, that will be so much more helpful to show, okay, how it compares across different OFA, and could also reveal the multiplexing pattern of a lot of the orders. Like today, we see this very problematic thing that people doing is they send their bundle across different OFA, thinking that we're maximizing the like the best the refunds they can get, but it's not the case actually. So yeah, I think this can actually really also showcase the value OFA is trying to bring, which is to the point of today's topics like redistribution, the value back to user. And like I think that's also a barrier today for OFA trying to integrate more flow. When they talk to the wallet, there's not real data to show if you come to our platform, your user, when they do swap, they can have a price better by X bips. So yeah, just my rant.
I just wanted to echo the last point, which was maybe like one thing I want to try to get out of this conversation and make more known.
Did I go off chain again?
What?
Can't hear anyone.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I guess we're in different silos. Anyways, the point I wanted to get across was, like Danny was saying, transactions are being fanned out from the user to OFA, and then some OFAs to other OFAs. People think that they're going to get better refunds this way, but they're not aware of the design decisions of all these OFAs and how they handle that transaction. For example, some will just, as soon as the transaction comes in, relay it right away to the builder. Well, now that transaction's naked, it has no refunds. So now it's open to it getting background in like an optimistic backgrounder, which I think, Blair, you had tweeted recently about that, where people will just sort of optimistically put backgrounds in anticipation of some transaction coming in. And now that that transaction was sent from the OFA without any other backgrounds on it, now it's sort of naked and can be extracted. So users should know the ramifications of how the OFAs are handling their data and passing it around. Otherwise, it can lead to sort of unwanted consequences.
Yeah, I think everyone is talking about. I think you guys all talking very well, very good on current observability in MEV supply chain, and you're all talking about you need for the user to have the ability to observe the life cycle of the transaction. But in my opinion, I think the crucial for observability in MEV supply chain is it is the source of the profit from the of the searchers. So Blair talked about orders could come from the public mempool, it is fully observable to the searchers. And if the orders come from OFA, it's partly visible, except for the searcher if you connect to this OFA, like MEV blocker or MEV share. But for those private order flow that is only sent directly to the builders, it is only observed by the builder themselves. And from like our recent research and Blair's research, we all noticed that this kind of private order flow has been utilized by the searchers that could be visible, that could be that those orders could only be visible to the builders. So we don't know and what is happening underlying of those searchers and builders, but we believe there is a searcher builder integration that those searchers could view the private order flow that is exclusive only to the block builders. And we also believe that, like earlier, the competition in the MEV supply chain is trying to bid for the top position of the block. But now the competition lies on who can observe the orders and who can being the first to background the orders. That's why I think observability becomes a source of the current profits of the MEV searchers.
Yeah, I believe such a builder integration is one of the concerns, and I think we'll discuss this later in this tier space. But I think let's move on to the second question, which is regarding value redistribution in the MEV supply chain. So at the moment, what is your biggest concern? I think this time we can start from Blair.
Yeah, sure. So when I think about value redistribution, once the MEV is extracted, it's kind of a zero-sum game from there on out, right? So like there's some MEV that's extracted, and then you have to think about who deserves whatever the right word is, who gets the MEV that was just extracted. And there are a whole bunch of parties involved, and it's like a very highly contentious and competitive game between searchers and builders and relays and validators, and all these different entities want to get their fair share of the MEV. And the obvious thought here, like the left curve thought, I guess you could say, is, hey, if this user created this MEV opportunity, then the user should probably just get most of that MEV, right? And maybe the searcher gets a fee for extracting it. And so, that's my left curve brain goes to that as the ideal, the optimal outcome. Right now, I'd say the validator gets quite a large share of MEV that is extracted. And with these new order flow auctions, I guess they're not really new anymore, MEV share and MEV blocker, they're doing a pretty good job of redistributing that to the transaction originator. So yeah, hopefully we can continue in that trend. Obviously the biggest issue is we're highly reliant on MEV share and MEV blocker, which are centralized points of failure. It's hard for the user to know exactly what is happening with that auction process once it's sent to those entities, and then those entities send it on to builders. And then you're at the whims of the builder algorithms, and for a user that is very opaque and non-transparent process. So hopefully we can continue on this path of giving it back to the user, but also creating more observability on top of it.
To add, I kind of wonder if there's a world where we don't even have to do OFAs do OFAs with refunds anymore. It can just be, at the time of the transaction, the user gets the best price, and if there was any arbitrage to be had, it's basically baked into the price that they get. Curious if you guys think that's a possible outcome, or
yeah, I like that too. The one thing I have a problem with the current OFAs is like this user's doing token A for token B, and they get like this prize token C as their reward, and it's like, well, I didn't want token C, I wanted token B. So yeah, ideally you get just more of token B, right?
Yeah, precisely.
some of the risks that are happening right now that get people angry on Twitter is people send their transactions through MEV share, MEV protect, and background me or protect RPC. All kinds of there's a bunch of them out there. These private RPCs that are supposed to give a refund back to the user, and they see that a lot of the refund doesn't go to the user, or the user thinks that they should get more of it back from there. And then sometimes even users still get front run and sandwiched, and even there's a couple complex sandwich attacks that can happen with some of the ways that these services are set up. So they're not really fully protecting them. And it's also, I think, an issue when the transactions get leaked to the mempool, the public mempool, through these private RPCs that are supposed to be protecting users, and then the users end up being sandwiched, which is it's it's kind of a bad taste in everyone's mouth with these tools,
Absolutely. To add, I wonder what folks think about the OFAs acting more like an auction, in that instead of just relaying what they get, they actually run an auction for a period of time, and then only after that they'll send the best thing to the builder. So there's less leakage this way. And there's a trade-off, right? Like that might mean a little bit worse inclusion, but it means a better refund and less leakage. And for many users, that might be fine.
Right. I know the way that the background me and protect RPC works for Bloxroute, we only use a few trusted searchers to perform any background opportunities on there without exposing the signature of the transactions. There's protection for the user that they won't get leaked. Then the transactions end up in as private transactions for builders that are integrated with us. And so we do an auction flow on there, whichever bundle pays the most within that. It's a couple 100 millisecond window. Those are the bundles that actually get served.
Oh, great! So you guys actually do wait for a period of time before sending anything. You don't just first send the naked transaction and then send bundles.
Right, and then it never ends up in the public mempool to begin with. It's always in a private mempool for the builders, which is the cause. It's a centralizing factor for observability, but it protects the user from for public mempool sandwich attacks.
Yep.
So I have a lot to actually share based on our experience dealing with some problems here. And I think to what you mentioned as a concern of say user seeing they're not getting a refund or seeing sandwiching or front running. I don't think it's I don't think it's an issue of coming from the OFA. It's more of a problem of users' behavior of multiplexing the transaction to a bunch of OFA, which actually undermining your privacy level at the same time, and also potentially is not really maximizing the refunds you can get, but potentially two example, right? For example, if you are sending your transaction both to MEV Share and MEV Blocker, MEV Blocker shows the full transaction information, and MEV Share actually has a setting for privacy, say by default you only share transaction hash and some special critical logs, and user can even turn that off, just sharing transaction hash, meaning searcher here is only doing full blindly background, etc. But meanwhile, if the searcher is registered to both, and they can see the hash, and they can see, oh, there is a hash on MEV Share, and let me check the hash if it's on MEV Blocker. And if it's on MEV Blocker, they can see the full information, and they can submit a bundle either here or there or both places. And in this case, you're basically undermining your privacy when you're sharing your full information to another OFA. Although I do know MEV Blocker has some setting to protect their user by adding some fake transaction that they added in it, and I don't know if there is really proof today in data saying that OFA is actually making users transaction getting front run or not. Would love to check that out for sure. Another example why multiplexing OFA is bad for user is that, for example, if you do share your transaction to two OFA and they have two separate sets of searchers, let's say, and one OFA said, oh, our searcher, none of them have submitted a valid bundle for backrunning this user, then I'm going to help still settle this transaction, forwarding this as a single transaction bundle to builders to land. And that one went through first. And then the other OFA actually found a background. And they're like, okay, this is a valid background. I'm going to submit this bundle. But then when they submit to the builder is simulating this. It says, oh, it already landed as a single transaction on chain. This bundle is invalid. And then so the background will never land and user will never get refund. So I think it's more of a behavior of multiplexing, not really from the OFA, if that makes sense.
The one counterpoint I would make to that is the only thing worse than getting like front run in the block that you're in is having to wait for the next block. So like there is some rationale to sharing your transaction as wide as possible to ensure you get the inclusion speed you want. I think inclusion speed is pretty critical to most users, and most transactions, I think it's like less than 1%, depending on your order flow. So it's dependent on what entity you are. But most transactions do not generate any MEV at all. It's like there's $100 swaps. And so they'd rather just be included as fast as possible instead of trying to get some sort of refund bundle that is just kind of a cherry on top.
But in that case, they should just use, for example, Block Native's RPC aggregator, which is just aggregating the builder endpoint rather than aggregating OFA endpoint, right?
I mean, I appreciate you vouching for our product.
I'm just reasoning the case.
Yeah, that's exactly why we built the product that we did, and we focus a lot on inclusion speed. And then, just going back to your point on the MEV share MEV blocker thing, we actually take the stance that if you set privacy in transaction boost, we will honor the privacy over sending to multiple RPCs. So if you put MEV blocker and MEV share, but you put MEV share hints, then we will not share it with MEV blocker because you added MEV share hints, and we want you to have the privacy that you're asking for.
Yeah. So about like users and sharing their orders to different OFAs, I also have a concern that we do observe this kind of situation, and thinking about like all the OFAs had the same user order, and also the searchers is trying to backrun them and gain the profits. So the point of which OFA wins the bundle is how much they pay to the builders, right? And currently, most of the OFAs like MEV share and MEV blocker indicate about 10% of the revenue goes to the builders. And what if the OFA is starting to compete with each other and increase the bid to the block builders? And originally, it is the aim of bringing the MEV share back to the users. But still, if you're paying a lot to the builders and then to the validators, it's still going the original routine of all the MEV values flow to the validators. Right, so it's kind of a concern or a situation that could happen, and also without the OFA before in the supply chain, you guys all mentioned that most of the MEV value flows to the validators. And now with OFA, some of the value could be distributed and flow back to the user orders. But also in the supply chain, you have the searcher and you have the builders. And now with observation that the searchers is using the private orders from the builders, they don't need to pay high bribes like the original searcher would do to the builders, and then they don't also need to pay high to the validators. So it's kind of a situation that this kind of integration is trying to extract some of the MEV value back from the validators. So you see some orders flow to the users because of OFA, and you also see some of the values flow back to the searchers and builders because of searcher builder integration. So it's kind of what is happening in the supply chain now from the data that we observe. Yeah, that's my opinion on that.
So yeah, we talk about the searchers bundle a lot. Danny just mentioned that Titan has something that can show all these bundles whether they're successful or not. So I have a quick question, like, so does Flashbots has any intentions to build something like that?
Yes, we are building a status API. So exactly, yes.
Okay, nice. That's good to know. Okay, so yeah, let's so if there's any questions that has in the audience, so any audience can raise their hand and ask questions. We have like 2 minutes for you guys to ask questions. Okay, just raise your hand if you have. Okay. Seems like no one has questions. Okay, let's move on to the next question in the agenda. So the next one is about MEV Burn and the PEPC. So do you guys think they could be helpful in terms of align incentives in the MEV ecosystem? So this time, I think I'll ask Danny to be the first speaker.
I was just about to say, I don't think I understand deep enough about ePBS, and in general, what I understand from multiple people seems like MEV Burn or whatever design that just trying to shorten the bidding slot to like 2 seconds wouldn't really change anything substantially. But more, I'm interested in other people's opinion on this.
Yeah, I mean, I've got opinions. My full-time job is dealing with theory on PBS, and so the ePBS is a very interesting topic. It sounds like it's not coming anytime soon, and I don't think anyone's really prioritizing working on it anymore since it's such a I think it's kind of a miss, like a product miss for the ecosystem at this point. But yeah, we can expand on that if you guys want to. But some of the things that
hot take.
Well, yeah, actually, I'll explain it then. There's a lot of value that relays have and relays offer to the ecosystem that ePBS won't be able to provide. So there will still be a relay use case, and it will still fit into an ePBS system. And so there's just going to be much more valuable blocks through the current PBS flow than there would be through an ePBS, which would just not people just wouldn't be using ePBS at that point. But for the PEPC or proposer attester separation or proposer executor separation, I mean, there's a whole lot of talks about moving proposers, builders, and attesters or executors or whatever you want to call them, breaking it apart even more. I was actually talking today with Uri Klarman about that. I think if we separate the proposers from the executors or from the attesters, we're going to see a lot more censorship, especially with the US-based attesters, since both of those separations kind of move the MEV reward to the actors that are paid to actually enforce a block being added to the chain, which will put a lot more pressure on attestation duties to be OFAC compliant. And if that happens, the logistical overhead of checking if the attesters that are going to be attesting to a specific block are OFAC compliant, or if they're not, and if there's over 50% of them, it just ends up being such a huge logistical concern that builders would just always exclude OFAC transactions just to not risk any of the having an orphan block due to this other actor in the space that could decide not to include their block because it's OFAC.
That was actually the topic on my mind for a while. So maybe I can ask you more to clarify. So are you thinking that if the majority of attesters are basically in OFAC regions, let's say United States or something, then basically just becomes now the whole chain's OFAC compliant? Is that what you're thinking?
I think it's on a per slot basis, right? I mean, there's 128 validators, or there's a certain number of validators that are attesting to a block, right? And if you know that over 50% of those are going to be OFAC compliant and they're going to vote against your block, like you could determine this, right? It would be not easy, it's trivial though to determine who is going to be attesting to your slot. But the amount of work that it's worth and the amount of value that OFAC transactions add to a block, builders would just always exclude OFAC transactions from the beginning.
And then with the ePBS, like I don't remember where things landed, but as far as I know, it was sort of halfway there in that ePBS was kind of moving forward, but there's still the existence of a relay, and it's probably going to be for like the higher value blocks where the builders wouldn't really have that amount collateralized. Is that your interpretation of it as well?
Yeah, I think the problem is the folks that are focused on ePBS, I feel like they kind of lost steam after some of the realizations of the value not really being there, and almost like a perceived lack of adoption by validators for that, because over 90% of blocks come through relays today, and to tell them to switch to a system that pays them less is it's almost like, how are you going to sell that?
Okay. But MEV Burn is built on top of ePBS. So if ePBS doesn't move forward, I'm not sure if MEV Burn will either.
Yeah, my latest understanding about MEV Burn is that it would actually require that proposer, either executor or tester separation, and that is what, like I said, is such a centralizing vector for censorship, that I can't imagine how well that would go.
Yeah, the one thing I would add is on the MEV Burn side is again, going back to my left curve brain, hopefully we can, it never has made sense to me to, hey, I created this MEV opportunity, it's worth 1 ETH or whatever, let's burn it so that everyone gets to benefit from it, instead of me who created it. Like, I should get the majority of it. Why does everyone else get to benefit from it? So hopefully, going back to what Julian was saying earlier, we can just get to a place where you're front running a lot of this MEV that is created anyway, and so it just shows up in better execution, more of token B, not token C, that the user wanted originally. And so, a lot of these intent-based architectures are heading in that direction, which I think is great. I saw Alex join the call, so what he's working on at Fastlane with Atlas is also kind of working in this space to front run the MEV before it even gets down the supply chain, so it just gets in the user's hands, instead of making its way down the supply chain.
Yeah, to clarify really quick about the searcher created an opportunity for 1 ETH. Why would they want that to be burnt? Searchers, we call it a race to zero with searchers. The opportunity would be 1 ETH, but another searcher would only take 0.5 ETH to land their bundle on chain, so they're still making some money. But then another searcher would only take 0.0001 ETH to land that bundle on chain. So the remainder, the 0.999 whatever, goes to the builder or the validator at that point, so that their bundle gets landed on chain. And so the hope is that the burn would happen with that 0.999, and it would go back into the go back to the whole ecosystem, where the value of ETH would increase due to de-inflation.
Okay, so yeah, I just want to add a quick question. So it's like, so what is the thing at the current status of this whole MEV supply chain ecosystem that has been surprised you, or can I say that you were not expected since the merge happened? So yeah, I think Julian, would you mind try to chime in?
Yeah, I think what surprised me the most, and maybe it's in my naivete, but I was not expecting how there would be so much cross-exchange arbitrage, basically to come in the scene, and now that's becoming very specialized edge that some folks have, and it's basically sort of making the block building game that I wasn't anticipating, but in retrospect, it obviously makes sense.
Are you saying CFI DeFi or
Yeah,
multi-chain? It's cross.
No, CFI DeFi.
Oh yeah.
Both.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, true. I would just say, for my perspective, it was also in my naivete, thinking back to, what was that, 2022, September 2022. I thought there'd be more room for neutral builders, and that people would care about sending their transactions to neutral builders, and there'd be more preference towards using those instead of the builders that partook in this trading CFI DeFi operation, but that is not really the case.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm growing more and more, I don't know what the word is, unhappy with, is the how PBS has become a co-locating centralization vector. Like, there's so much value in moving your validator closer to a profitable relay, and people are recommending that, people are doing that, It's kind of taken away some of the decentralized nature of Ethereum, and it's just getting worse and worse. But yeah, I mean, that's just like my doomsday sentence for the day, I guess.
Yeah, it really flipped from being. I guess most of the miners were probably in Asia, I would say.
Sorry, can you guys hear Blair?
No. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
sorry
yeah,
about that.
so
Can you hear me now?
yeah.
Okay, I think some of us got cut out.
Yep, I can hear everyone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Sorry about that. I just got kicked out. So I was saying, before when we had miners, I'd say most of them were in Asia, and then post. I didn't appreciate how much that we would kind of flip geographically from like Asia to US, and how much of an impact that would have on just jurisdiction on where things are actually located. Just following up on Ben's comment.
Yeah, we're about to be announcing a new product that's supposed to help with the global effectiveness of validators and try to improve their APY for some regions that have very high latency to relays. It's been a big push for us this quarter is to improve global reliability for the relays and the block proposal infrastructure. We finally have a really cool product that we're ready to go live with soon in January. I can't share too much until we officially announce it, but it's a really cool product to improve all duties for validators, and we have some really cool APY improvements on block proposals as well through it. So hopefully we can fight this centralizing vector of telling people to move your validators to US East or Frankfurt or wherever it is, just so you get the most profitable blocks. And hopefully we can start to see a higher effectiveness rating for African and Latin American node operators.
Okay, so Danny, what's your take on the question?
Yeah, I would say the original question was like, what's the most surprising finding? I would say same as everyone. Like it's like the biggest finding or the most profound thing today is still like the C5 D5 searcher builder integration, which all makes sense if we look back. And I want to say like it seems like this trend will just be more and more severe probably, where we now see also some other neutral builder now starting. Even they are not like C5 D5 upper, they would try to incorporate atomic searching, receiving this kind of thing or do themselves in their block. So you would now categorize searcher builder integration into further to be C5 D5 searcher builder integration or DeFi on atomic searcher integration. So and then one extra movement or I guess interests we've seen from other players is that a lot of the market maker or solver we've been talking to are also interested in trying it out or testing out how to build a builder, meaning there's another layer of like say solver builder integration or like market maker who are also a solver want to be a builder. So it's like a whole cluster of this similar roles and trying to integrate it for extra advantage for last look of their order or less latency. So doesn't look great, I guess.
My understanding, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I actually think Uniswap X is sort of built on that, right? Because it doesn't have the batching built in. So it's basically left up to the builders to do the batching of transactions and get like a uniform pricing or however they do it. So I think if anything, it's actually being kind of the industry sort of pushing in that direction.
You mean, for example, if the solver basically, let's say Uniswap has the majority of the order flow anyway. So if the solver can batch all the orders together, then there will be less MEV downstream for searcher builder to capture.
Yeah, basically that they're in the best position to do it because they see all the order flow and can, put those transactions together in a way or source liquidity in a way to clear all of them at the best price, versus just your random searcher just focusing on one. Also, like focusing just on the one might impact the prices of the other, and they might actually all end up reverting. So basically, the builder's in the best position to be able to actually do solving.
Well, yeah, to your point about this seems the way the market's going. I mean, look at intents, look at the hooks. Like they're wanting people to fulfill functionality on the blockchain and provide value that way and receive some of that value back to themselves too. So that, I mean, we're kind of building for a searcher based blockchain ecosystem, right?
Yeah, precisely.
The other thing about the builder searcher combos, there's also now builders that are entering the relay space. So I know that we run builders. I know Flashbots runs builders, but we're not really running builders and searching at the same time. We're just kind of fulfilling services for searchers. But there's builders that are builder searcher combos looking into vertical integration with relays as well, which is another interesting vector.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance in terms of searcher builder integration, right? So I guess I want to ask you guys' opinion about so what do you think should be the definition of a builder search integration? I want to start from Sophie.
Okay, so you guys all talk about the safe ID for arbitrage. Those builders. So for the safe ID for arbitrage, their transactions lands on the blocks that those builders build, right? And it's not hard to trace on which builder is doing it. So it's kind of a little bit transparent to the public because you can still trace on the data and trace on the behaviors on which builder is doing it. And from the information from the data I see, it seems like they also pay very high bribes to themselves, and then they give the most of the revenues to the validators. So it's kind of like still competition with other effective arbitrageurs. This is a situation we find earlier. But for those atomic transactions as builders that the searchers are doing, and also utilizing the builder's private order flow, because all these private orders they send through builders' RPCs, and they send to all the builders that is maybe ranking top 10. And all those builders could observe the order. And instead of just sending their background transactions to the blocks that they build themselves, they send to all the other builders. So as long as there's one builder could build the blocks and include the signals transaction, the user orders transaction. And then it will highly possible that their background transaction could also be included by that builder. So that's why it's very hard to observe there's such a builder integration when you see the data at first. But when we observe, there's a lot of searchers trying to do it, and they were backgrounding some orders that is not appearing in the public mempool data, and also it's not bundled because we couldn't see the bundle information except for if it's Flashbots blocks, but it will have the feature that the user orders will be just in front of the background transactions, right? It's a highly implied that it's building the bundle. But currently, the transaction looks like the user orders in a block position, maybe in 15, but the background transaction will just placed at the end of the block, and they were still using the user transaction as a signal to do the backgrounding. So that's the situations we find now, and I think it remains really non-transparent to the public of the builders is using this private order flow, and it's also very hard to trace back on which builders is doing it because of the situations that I mentioned earlier. They don't send to the blocks that they build; they send to the blocks that they send to their transactions to all the other builders. So and I think there's no transparency. Of course, there's no announcement of they are backrunning their user orders as sent to their RPCs, and apparently there's no fair competitions because they can observe the private order. There's no competition between other searchers because they cannot observe this private order. They are just competing on the public orders from the public map pools. So I would see that this would potentially could cause a centralization issue, of course, and of course, and also the thing that I mentioned earlier is causing some redistribution issue of that MEV value on that MEV supply chain.
I guess
Julian.
the only thing I would add to Sophie's point is I agree with all that. The interesting nuance is you have these rise of Telegram bots, and most of these people are issuing Uniswap v2 tokens, and Uniswap v2 just generates more MEV than Uniswap v3 does. And these Telegram bots decide who to send their transactions to, right? So it's not up to the user, it's up to the Telegram bot. And I think it's underappreciated how much influence and power these Telegram bots, these random people have on where they send this transaction. Right now, they're just sending to the top 3 to 5 builders, right? And so that's just going to further cement this centralization, because then those 3 to 5 builders, who a lot of them are searcher builders, they're fully integrated. And so they will search on this MEV, which is highly valuable. And some of the bots that Sophie has found and that I have found, like these bots are raking it in, and that is going right into their block value. And when you're fully integrated like that, if you're just a searcher, you're doing like a first price auction, right? You don't know what everyone else is bidding. But if you're fully integrated, you get to move to a second price auction. So you can just give all the value to yourself, to the builder, and then you can let the builder kind of figure out how to correctly win the MEV Boost auction. And so there's just this plethora of advantages that you have by being one of these 3 to 5 top builders, by getting this order flow from Telegram bots that's really valuable to continue to winning more blocks.
Why don't the Telegram bots use an OFA?
They do.
They do.
Yeah.
Then why is it a problem?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, problem that if they were using OFAs, the value would just come back to them. It shouldn't bubble up to the builder and the builder taking it, or an optimistic backrun or whatever, whoever's taking it. It should just stay and come back to the Telegram bot or the user of the Telegram bot. But that's not happening.
It does. I think what Blair was saying is that these Telegram bots, I'm trying not to name drop the bots, but the Telegram bots are creating so much value for the blocks, and they make these top 5 builders so much more competitive because of that order flow that's not coming through a public mempool, right? It's coming through these private channels to these builders directly.
Yeah, and as in contributing to centralization of top builders. And I think Telegram bot is basically one example of some sort of searcher flow, but that nature of you have whatever order flow owner, you have to see who are the top builders, and your incentives to get them included. This pattern of thing will always be repeating, if that makes sense.
The other thing I'd add for your question, Julian, is most of these order flow auctions are just single transaction, and a lot of these backrunning bots are backrunning multiple target transactions, multiple target Telegram bot transactions, or a combination of private and public transactions. And so there's those blocks where that's happening is just more valuable because they're back running more than one transaction.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a bit of a loaded question. That it's clearly they're not fully utilizing the OFA, because then we should be seeing less of this MEV bubbling up to the builder should be caught and brought back. So maybe the OFAs today are not fully servicing the needs of these bots. And I think you highlighted one example where they're not.
Yeah, I think for those Telegram bots, they could send their orders to the OFA, but because of the latency problem, from what I observe, like the blogs that the builders that include their orders, they not always send to the top builders, they also send to very small builders as well, and to increase their orders to help to their orders to be able to on time as quickly as possible. So it's because they send their orders to so many builders, it's just getting very hard to trace back which builder is doing it as well.
But if they're broadcasting it out to basically all the builders, then now we go back to that MEV being squeezed away. Assuming most operate as, let's say, a builder searcher, then it should get squeezed away.
So yeah,
I'm not exactly sure, but from the data that I have seen, a lot of these either blind arbitrage bots or internal backrunning bots, sometimes hard to distinguish between the two, as Bert has pointed out to me. A lot of the transactions that they're backrunning, the target transaction is a Telegram bot transaction. So either the OFA is ineffective, or the fact that they're backrunning more than just one transaction is trumping, the bundle of one target transaction plus the backrun.
I wonder if it's basically just this is just a temporary inefficiency, and as time progresses, this will get squeezed out as well and go to the validator. And we're just kind of watching the market catch up to squeeze out whatever MEV is there.
Okay, so almost an hour. So I want to wrap up, and I'd like to invite all the builders here to introduce your most exciting going to be released new features or new products. And I know that Danny and Benjamin also mentioned something, but you can just also give us more alphas in terms of your builders' new features and products. And how about Benjamin? Would you mind to be the first one?
Yeah, so you guys are going to hear about it soon. We're calling it our Validator Gateway product. There's a lot to it. I can't share too much about it, but we should see some really cool APY improvements for validators. If you are a validator and you want to get more information about it, reach out to me. We do have a closed beta right now for the rest of the month for you to try it out for free. And then we will be going live in January. I did also want to mention a couple of things about observability. A lot of observability is confusing to a lot of people. We've recently launched our Ethereum bundle trace. We actually had a BSC bundle trace, and then saw that Titan released an Ethereum bundle trace, or like an observability tool for their builders' actions with transactions. So we have our ETH bundle trace as well, because searchers don't need to know what's happening with their bundles alongside that. And then even with these Telegram bots, they're unsure where they're going through all these different OFAs and different private RPCs. It's one of those multiplexing issues that Danny brought up, that they don't have observability to these things either. It's more of a retroactive correction that they're making to these tools. But yeah, Validator Gateway and bundle tracing, to new and upcoming products coming from Blockstrap.
Okay,
Yeah.
Blair from sorry.
Oh yeah, on our end, sorry. We have we have launched a REST builder, so like a Rust builder, and it's pretty early phase, but it's been landing blocks. So we're hoping to understand and improve more in the coming next year. And on the Protect and the MapShare side, we are building a bunch of data tooling to potentially also similarly to help searcher to trace the bundle status and the refund status, and also potentially to publish the product data set on Dune or any open data set platform. And besides that, we're also having an exciting piece that's coming out from my teammate Angela about the order flow landscape analysis, which we also have a dashboards hosted and the website to show the whole flow in a Sankey chart. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, from my side, again, you can check out Transaction Boost, which is a private transaction aggregator. It's very customizable, has a very rich status API, so you know as best you can what is happening and what happened with your private transaction. And then last week, we kind of gave a sneak preview of our observability platform that we're building called EtherNow. So you can go to ethernow.xyz to test it out, and feedback is highly welcome and encouraged. Please send it my way.
I guess I'll go next. Two things. So one is a product that we launched some months ago, which is our auction statistics. Basically, a searcher goes in, it can see how their bundle compares to the competition in an anonymous way. So try it out. It'll probably give you some tooling to kind of explore what opportunities to go after, and also how you fare against the competition. And then the second thing, no specific product announcement, but direction that we are going, and that is about building more functionality on top of the builder. Kind of sketched out as basically like a programmatic mempool. How can we give users more specific control over how their transactions land on chain, when, under what conditions? I hope to see more of this done, and I think the builder's in the basically perfect spot to be able to offer that.
Nice. So it's really great to see all these builders like contributing to the whole ecosystem's health. So yeah, I guess that'll be it for today. So thank you guys. Thank you for all the valuable speakers today, and hopefully we can have another one, discussing more stuff about MEV supply chain and about the Ethereum ecosystem. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.